Welcome everybody to this video about productivity for piano teachers, or any music teacher really. As music teachers, we have some unique challenges when it comes to productivity, keeping ourselves on task, balancing all of the different hats that we wear, right? Today in this video, I'm going to help you to get all of them straight, hopefully, give you some great tips for making your time more productive and show you some great tools that you can use for that as well. So let's get started. Well, everyone, it is wonderful to be back with you. It felt kind of weird not being here on Monday, right? For some of the regulars who are live right now, let me know if it was a bit strange for you. It was a bit strange for me. It was nice to have a break. And it's been nice to have a lighter teaching load. I just have a few students from now for the next couple of months in our summer term, which is a very welcome change for me as a teacher, especially in the era of online lessons, I have to say. It was more tiring. I definitely still had fun with my students and we did a lot of great stuff, but it has been pretty shattering, pretty tiring, and definitely requires a different type of stamina to my in-person lessons. I think it's something I would adjust to more and more over time, but it's nice to have a lighter schedule all the same, and I'm looking forward to these chats being here still on Wednesday so I can catch up with all of you. It's so great to be back with you, and I hope you'll love this new midweek slot for our chats, right? So we're going to be on every Wednesday now. For the summer at least. The time is 10 a.m. in New York, that's 10 p.m. in Perth, that's 3 p.m. for me over here in Dublin, and it's all sorts of different times from you because we have people from all over the world, which is so cool. I saw many regulars already chiming in. Eloise is here, and Jazreel, and Laurie, Carrie, who said she enjoyed the countdown. Thank you, Carrie. That's a new thing that we're trying to give you guys time to hop in so you don't miss the start of the broadcast, because I know that can be challenging with the way YouTube does notifications. So that's something new we're trying. If you liked it, give this video a like so that YouTube knows you appreciate this content. Angela is here, who's over here in Ireland with me. I mean, not with me, but virtually a little bit closer. Laurie is here from Montana. Juliet from West Sussex. Oh my gosh, so many members and regulars chiming in. I would especially like to hear from you if you're new though too. So if you are new, you haven't met me and I've been babbling on for a few minutes and you're like, who is this girl? Should I even stay here? I am Nicola Canton. I'm a piano teacher over in Dublin in Ireland, and I run a few sites. Vibrant Music Teaching and Colourful Keys are my main two sites, which you may have heard of, or it may be your first time, and either way you're extremely welcome here, so please do chime in with the chat. So we're going to be diving into productivity to get today, but I wanted to give you a quick tour of the new games, that's what I mean, since it's the first. It's so cool to be here with you on the first. So if you're not a member of VMT, of Vibrant Music Teaching, you don't know this, but the first of the month is when we release 5 new games inside the library every month. And I'm normally not on a live video on that actual day. I normally do a bit of an update a few days later. But since we are live here, and I know there are many members in the room and other people who'll be curious about the kinds of tactics that we use inside VMT, I want to give you a quick tour of the new games. Then we're going to talk about productivity. And then, if you're a member and you haven't checked your inbox, you're not going to know about the coolest thing of all, which has just been launched inside the site. So I'm going to update you about that at the end. But first, let's just do a quick tour of the new games. I already saw a question from Jazreel about the games actually, so I'll just answer that, which is that whether I encourage parents to take the games home, and I absolutely do, and I encourage all members to do that as well. You have a full license to create a lending library for your parents, so if you want to lend games to your parents, and even in the time of COVID, if you want to send them digitally, that is fine, as long as you let them know that they're not allowed to share it with anyone else. and they are students in your studio. Laurie said she just saw the coolest thing of all. I'm really curious to hear what you think of it, Laurie. But right now, let's jump over to my screen so I can show you some of the latest games, the 5 latest additions. So, as you'll be aware, if you remember, we always have the new games up the top. So if you go to the printable library, you will see them at the top here. And these are our 5 new ones. We have Triad Trail, Chord Climber. We have Right Left Smash Crash, Staff Scurry, and Quad Squad. Okay, so all of these, as with all our recent games, are available in slides versions. Now, I've had a few questions from people about how you can find out which ones are available in slides versions. The only ones that have official slides versions are the most recent. So you can literally find the slides ones by just not selecting anything up the top here, not filtering, although it's unusual for me to encourage you to do that, and just looking at the most recent ones because they're at the top. So that's the easiest way to find them. It's as simple as that. Now, our brand new ones, we have Triad Trail here. So this is Triad Trail, and if you're not aware, we have these buttons for Google Slides versions there. And this one is for major and minor chords. It's about an early intermediate or grade 2 level. It's a nice neutral game, so it definitely doesn't look super kiddie. I'll just show you the game board. So if you are using the games with teens or adults, it'll be totally fine for them, as are most of our games, except the really preschooler designed ones. So they're simply moving to different key signatures, using different chords to do that. So it's a great reinforcement for major and minors. Oops. The next one we have is Chord Climber. So we've got a couple on chords this week. Chord Climber is a climbing wall. Again, not super kiddie to look at, so I don't think anyone would balk at this. It's a board game as well. Because we are focusing on the slides versions, a lot of these will tend to be board games because they translate so well to slides. And this one is about climbing up a wall. It is, instead of major and minor, it is Roman numeral analysis, but it only uses the keys of C, F, and G, so that's super handy for you if you want to dive into just a few keys and get used to 1, 4, 5, and 5, 7 chords only with your students. Then we have Right Left Smash Crash. This is honestly my favourite. And if you have a student with this struggle, it'll become your favorite too right away. Our content manager, Sarah, has been using this in the previews. You know, she helps with the editing and all that kind of stuff and the testing, and she's been testing this out with her student, and so have I, and we both are in love with it. Because if you have a student who can't tell right from left or gets mixed up with certain connotations of right and left, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second, then it can be really hard to reinforce, and this game is perfect for that. So we have lots of different hands there. Those are to represent right and left, but then we have all different versions of right and left. So yes, treble and bass. Yes, it's not always the case. The treble clef is right hand and bass clef is left hand. And you're welcome to leave those cards out if you don't want to reinforce that. However, it is useful for a lot of beginners, especially preschoolers, to at least make that association in the beginning. Then we can contradict it later. This is the big one for me, which is up and down on the staff. So we have a few examples of that. One just circled, one with notes and stuff like that. So they represent right and left, and then they have different fun actions to do with those. So play one key, go up, stretch up tall to the sky, etc. And it's all randomized, and the Google Slides version of the game has been working great for that for me. I've absolutely been loving it with my student, who is having some right-left confusions. He's left-handed, and I do find that happens a bit more often with left-handers, probably because of the environment around them being so confusing and backwards all the time. The next one is called Staff Scurry. This one is about going up the staff in interval qualities. So if you're familiar, if you've been a member for a little while, this one is kind of like interval schminterval, except that it uses like major seventh, minor seventh, diminished, so it's more specific, it's more advanced, but it works kind of like interval, sprinterval, schminterval, sprinterval, so they're going up the staff like that, and there's sharps and flats and naturals that they can move to there to symbolize the different intervals. And then the last one I'll quickly show you is quad squad. That's fun to say if you haven't noticed. Okay, this one is about quadruple, triple, and duple metered, literally just those words. And it's only in simple time signatures. When you are playing it in person, there are special tokens with the quad bikes, but it's equally fun to play it with any tokens or stamps or whatever you're using online. And you're going to go around a track. You won't see the full track, but it's a 4-piece game board. And you're going to go around the track like that. Again, not super kiddie, totally fine to play with older students as well. So those are the new games. Let me know what you think of them. And let me know more of your struggles about productivity, because we've already had several in the comments here. Let me see what we have. We have... Sorry, I just love this comment. Nothing to do with productivity, but good morning. I'm giddy with excitement to be back with you all this morning. I know, Carrie, you were saying you were going to miss the chat on Monday. So I did miss it too, but I hope we both enjoy our new summer schedule. Claire said, biggest struggle is not getting overwhelmed, distracted with all the good resources available. Yes, and that's exactly what I want to help you with today. Eloise said staging recitals. That's certainly a big one and something we need to plan for pretty carefully. Carrie says biggest productivity struggle is being distracted. Yeah, for sure. A lot of overwhelm answers and distraction answers, so you're all in on that. A lot of coherence there. Helen, you put it very nicely. It's hard not to be distracted by looking at just one more great idea and spending much longer than I meant to. For sure, that is challenging. So excited you guys are enjoying the look of the new games and appreciating right, left, smash, crash. Charlotte, I hope you love it. So guys, productivity. I get a lot of questions about this, as because I do a lot of stuff, but I don't do as much stuff as people think I do. Not that I'm lying about any of it, just mean that when you look at someone from the outside, it's the same as, I have to be careful with this comparison, but if you look at like a model's Instagram, bear with me, I know my Instagram does not look like a model's, okay? If you look at a model's Instagrams though, and you look through their feed and you're thinking, oh my gosh, they always look so beautiful, oh my gosh, and they eat these wonderful salads and they have chocolate cake and everything in their life seems to be perfect. You're looking from the outside and you're seeing a staged version. And while I don't try to put that across at all, anything along those lines, sometimes people come to me and say, oh, you're so productive, you just produce so much stuff. And that's an outsider's view of it. It's not my life. I'm not just spending all my time working at maximum throttle. That's not really how I spend my time at all. I'm actually quite relaxed. I get through a lot of stuff because I stay focused on it, and also because I have help. So we're going to talk about all of that today and hopefully get you to feel more productive. The first thing I want you to consider doing when it comes to productivity comes from, I mean, it's not a brand new idea, but really I got this from a book by Mike Michalowicz called Clockwork. Mike Michalowicz is my favorite business author, probably. And he doesn't write about anything to do with teaching. It's not super relevant to teachers all the time. However, you can take his ideas and adapt them for your studio. And his book Clockwork is what you might imagine it's about. It's about productivity and systems. And one of the things he gets you to do through that book is to track your time for a whole week. Literally writing down, or you can use an app or something, but I actually think it's useful to write down, literally writing down 8 a.m. started opening emails. 8:03 got up to feed cat. Right? And yes, it's a pretty excruciating process. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not fun to do. But if you can keep it up for a whole week and try to do it on a week that's fairly typical for your studio, it will teach you so much about how you spend your time and what's taking longer than you think and what doesn't take as long as you think, and how you're context switching, which is something that we'll talk about later. And when you do that, after you've tracked your time, this is also from Mike Michalowicz, which is the 3 T's: trim, trash, and transfer. He's American, which is why it works out so neatly. I would be saying trim, rubbish, and transfer, and that wouldn't work nearly as nicely. But trim is cutting some time off. Trash is literally you just don't have to do that thing and you can throw it in the bin. And then transfer is getting someone else to do it. And if you make this full list and you think of it in those simple terms, it's actually really a useful process to go through. So if you are feeling like you're struggling with where you're spending your time and it feels like you're just not getting anywhere, and you feel like you might be wasting time or you just might be focusing on the wrong things, I hardly encourage you to give that process a go. It does make a big difference to how you think about things. Let me know if you've ever tried something like that, by the way. Have you ever tracked your time for a whole week and tested it out? It can be super enlightening. Awesome comments coming in. Okay, great stuff. So that's a simple tip number 1 as something to try if you want to increase your productivity. Now, the next thing I want you to think about are your systems. Once you have all of that stuff in place, once you know how you're spending your time and you've started to trim it or trash it or transfer it, and you're continuing to do that, you can think about your systems. What do I mean by systems? A lot of people think I mean automation straight away here, but it doesn't have to be automated systems. It can be anything that you do the same way over time. So if you don't currently keep a list of your studio's systems and keep a running log of them, you might want to think about starting one. I'm going to be doing a course about this, I'm hoping early next year. This is one that is in the back of my brain, and this is a good lesson in productivity, actually. This course is one that I would love to be doing. Sorry, we're talking about systems. I would love to make it right now. That's the truth. I would love to run away from my blog post writing and even hanging out here with you guys and doing everything else that I do, and just go make this course because I feel like making it right now. That won't last that long. I will enjoy making it, but it's not worth it to run away from my current work in order to do that, and it's not a priority, so I have to be realistic about it. But hopefully early next year I will be putting this together, and it's going to be about your studio systems and how to put in place almost an SOP, a standard operating procedure for your studio, but with a difference. So that's something to look forward to next year. But for now, try to just keep a list of the systems that are in your studio already, because you do already have them. At a certain time of the year, you send out new enrollment forms to your students, or you send out a calendar. At a certain time of year, Eloise, you start planning your recital. You book the hall. You make the programs. These things all happen within a system. It's just that you're not recognizing it as such. And if you think about your business as if it was a business you were going to sell to someone else. Now, you're not going to. But if you were, you would need to have this stuff laid out. This is how we do things here. It's really that simple. This is how we do stuff. Because you do have systems. And yes, there's variation within that. But knowing what those things are will help you to plan and allocate your time more efficiently through the whole year. Awesome. Eloise just mentioned outsourcing, which was my next topic, as you saw earlier. She said she outsourced a video editor at my advice. I'm so glad you did that, Eloise. That's awesome. Outsourcing can change your whole game. It honestly can. But I understand how scary it is. I've mentioned already, like I have content assistant and content manager, and we're currently about to hire 2 more assistants. All of those are only a few hours a week. I don't have full-time staff at all. But if you outsource different aspects or hire help for certain things, you'll end up making more money in most cases. Too many piano teachers, too many music teachers are actually spending all of their time doing stuff that is not in their specific skill set. Right? Have you ever heard the phrase zone of genius? I'm not sure I love this phrase, but I do like what it stands for, which is understanding what you're amazing at, what only you can do in your business or in your life. Only you can hang out and spend quality time with your cat or your kids, right? It's not the same if someone else does that. Maybe only you can teach your lessons if you're a one-person studio and you want to stay that way. But someone else can do your accounting. Now, I'm not saying they have to. I'm not saying you have to hire an accountant. This is just one example. Someone else can do it. So the question is, should someone else do it? And when it comes to something like video editing, I really like to think of it like this. What is your hourly rate? If someone were to hire you to do something, let's say accompanying or teaching a one-off lesson, what would you charge them? Okay, for round numbers sake, let's say 60 quid, 60 euro. Okay, so you're going to charge 60 euro per hour. Now, here's the question. Would you pay a video editor 60 euro an hour? The truth is no, you can get a video editor for cheaper than 60 euro an hour. But here's the best part about this question, which is the next layer. How good are you at the thing? For video editing, probably not amazing, right? You're using iMovie, it's kind of slow, you don't really know what you're doing, although you can kind of do it, right? If you're at that level with something, then the question is really, would you pay a very mediocre video editor 60 euro an hour? No! But that's what you're doing every time you spend your time working on something like this. So the next time you look at your list of tasks and think, but I can't possibly afford to pay someone else, do that little check with yourself. Do the gut check. Would you pay this much to someone who wasn't very good at this thing? Now, maybe you are really good at that thing, in which case you use the first version of that question, but it's still an important one to ask. Karen, that's a great example. She said, outsourcing my website because it's too techy for me. Yeah, for sure. You don't want to do it. Now, there is one supplemental question, which is, do you love doing it? So Karen, obviously you don't love making websites. I do love working on website stuff. It can be really fun for me. And so I will spend time learning about something new and techy that someone else could do for me for cheaper, but I enjoy learning about it and I feel like it benefits my brain, right? So that's a different thing. But if you don't enjoy it and you're not very good at it and you can hire someone else to do it for cheaper, then what are you doing it? Okay? In the nicest possible way, why are you doing that thing? Well, that's a lovely compliment. That's probably my favorite type. Thank you, Laurie. I love your brain too. It comes up with all sorts of fun, creative stuff. So, question from Carrie there. Yes. So, love the idea of outsourcing. What are some websites where you can hire? So, if you're looking to hire for a specific skill set, such as something like video editing, I would recommend Upwork.com. Let me type that into the chat for you guys. Upwork.com. It's pretty simple to use. It's got a huge variety of people. Now, you do need to, as with everything, you do need to filter things down and be careful of who you're hiring and look into their reviews and stuff. But there's lots of reviews from previous people there. And if you post a job, you'll normally get replies. I mean, if it's something fairly standard that there's a lot of people for on Upwork, like admin help, social media, video editing, any standard category of thing. If you post a job there, and it can literally be a 3-hour job, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. You post a job there, you'll normally get replies or like applications to that job within an hour. You'll get qualified people. Now, little tip for you, actually. Really glad you brought this up, Carrie, because I have a tip for you. No, I don't think any of you will see this in one of my application processes, but when I post things on somewhere like Upwork, I ask them to write a super random and silly word at the start of their proposal, and I ask that sort of in the middle of the application. So the word I asked for is lobster. It's because, I know exactly why I asked for that word, but it's very silly. Steve is a lobster too, but it's not for that reason. It's because of the bit of Friends, for all my 90s people. In Friends, Phoebe once talks about someone being, Ross and Rachel being each other's lobsters. She says, "You're a lobster," right? And they walk along holding their claws. Anyway, it's about long-term relationships. That's the point of it. So I ask them in the middle, I say, if you're interested in this application, please write the word lobster in the middle of, at the very start of your application, so that I know that you've read the full thing. And it sounds super silly, but it means that if you ask them to write it at the start, you can just immediately bin all the ones that didn't read the application. Because come on, read the thing, you know? So yeah, that's just a little tip for you if you are going to try it. It really does make a difference, and it helps you to throw out the applicants who are just applying to everything they see and might not be qualified or have read the thing or care about what you're doing. Okay, so that's outsourcing. Let me know if you have more questions about that. It's something I have done quite a bit of, and it can be a whole game changer for your business. The next tip I have for you is around context switching. Has anyone ever heard this term? Let me know whether you're familiar with it or not. Context switching is when you're doing one thing and you switch to another thing. And we all do this all the time. So it's otherwise, it's basically being a magpie. That's what I think of it as. I'm replying to this email and then I just randomly click over to Facebook to check some detail on my Facebook page, and then I click over here, and then I get up and go check a piano book that has nothing to do with the task I'm doing. So you're constantly changing the task. Okay, you've never heard of it. That's interesting. I think if we recorded most people's computers, mine included, I've caught myself doing this so many times I can't even count. But if we recorded most people's computers and then played them back, we would look at it and go, what are they doing? Like, without the inner monologue to go with it, what you're seeing is someone half replying to an email, clicking over here, clicking back over there, Googling something, going up, just changing tack all the time. The reason this is important is because every time you context switch, your brain takes a second to get into the new mode. So if you were writing a well-crafted email to a piano parent who's complaining about your makeup lesson policies, that doesn't happen. Never happens. If you were doing that, and then you switch over to create a social media graphic for your studio, and then you switch to video edit something in iMovie, every time you do that, your brain has to go, wait, what are we doing? What is it? Okay, we're supposed to be here. And that actually takes a little while, even if you don't feel it. So when people are multitasking, most of the time, all they're doing is context switching really fast. They're switching back and forth between those tasks really, really fast. Some people can truly multitask, but it's estimated to be less than 1% of the population. So it's probably not you, okay? So, when you think you're multitasking, you're probably just switching tasks fast, and you're making everything less efficient. That's the truth of it. Now, if you do want to take a break to go look at Facebook, that's fine. Just tell yourself that it's a break to go look at Facebook rather than that you're multitasking or that you're doing, acknowledge it to yourself. Be honest with yourself. That's what I'm saying, basically. Okay. Yeah, Carrie, only 9? That's nothing. Carrie said I have 9 tabs open right now, lol. I thought I had a lot of tabs open, and then one of my best friends, I saw her computer one day and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so many tabs. Because you couldn't see any of the text. The way it shrinks down until you can't see any words. You could never see any of the text. And she said, oh, this isn't that many for me. And the reason she does it is because she reads a ton, right? So she'll open loads of articles that she wants to read and then she'll get to them later. But she's basically just saving all these articles to read. But we're doing it to switch between a bunch of different tasks a lot of the time. And it's useless and inefficient. That's my point. If you do that time tracking thing, by the way, that will reveal a lot of this stuff to you. And it'll actually stop you doing some of it. So it's not always going to be the most honest appraisal of what you actually do with your time, because you'll end up editing how you spend your time while you're doing it, but that's also part of the benefit as well. Okay, I've got 2 more tips, and then I'm going to show you how VMT can help with this at the moment with our new feature. Okay, so Karen, that's hilarious. She said, I have 4 tabs open and all of them are VMT. Well, that is awesome. So, my last 2 tips are just not going to be any surprise, but I have to say them anyway, and you guys have told me that it is important that I keep saying this, and I feel it too. One thing at a time. And one area at a time. I haven't said that last one as often. So one thing at a time. What do I mean by this? Well, I literally mean do one thing at a time. Stay on one task and complete it and continue it until it's complete. The reason, and this means different things in different contexts, so let me be clear about it. Sometimes I say this and I mean literally, this thing is going to take you 5 minutes. Just do it until it's done. So, or 30 seconds. A good example of this is email. A lot of us open emails, don't reply to them, and then close them, and then think about them in the back of our head all day. You need to close the loop. Once you've opened that loop, you need to close it. Otherwise, your brain is just fussing over it in the background without you even being aware. So if you can close the loop on an email that you have opened within a few seconds, and be honest with yourself, a lot of the time that's true. If you can just give a quick reply that will take a few seconds, do it right then. Okay? So that's an example of a short term, one thing at a time. But there's also learning and courses and games. Some new members join the library and they want to try everything right away. And it's not going to work. They're not going to try them all, and they're definitely not going to ingest everything from that. Because trying a new game is not just about your student getting used to it or you using that game once. It's actually about you learning something from that. I actually believe we learn a lot when we use the games with our students. And doing one of those at a time is actually more beneficial for you, because you'll notice, oh, my student really hadn't gotten that little thing before and this game revealed it. I wonder what else I should look at for them to improve upon that, right? So actually following that trail, and you need to take the time to do that. Another huge one is courses. I've seen a really good uptick in the number of people taking the marketing course, our newest course, in the number of people continuing through it. And I believe a big part of that is the way I set it up this time. I'm learning all the time about how we can structure learning for our students, and also me structuring it for you guys so that we actually finish our tasks, because that's what it's all about. There's this term infotainment. Have you ever heard of infotainment? Probably not. I don't think this is even word. I might have made it up. It might be a real word, or I might have made that one up. Anyway, what I mean by it is there, or edutainment. Anyway, there's some jargony word like that. What it's about is, okay, there's memberships and courses and all this kind of stuff, Netflix, whatever. There's stuff we do online, and some of it is information or education, and some of it is entertainment. But there's also this middle category, which is actually just people watching things and consuming things, and all they're actually getting is entertainment, but they think it's education. And I think this is a dangerous category. It's not somewhere I want VMT to be, and I'm working all the time to improve things so that you guys are really getting benefit from it, and you're really actually improving your skills and feel like you're getting somewhere, whatever that means to you at any given time, versus just watching stuff for fun and feeling like, oh, but also feeling kind of empty, like you didn't get anywhere, because that's not what I want you to feel, right? So Jimmy said, yes, I'm an information collector, and Laurie earlier mentioned the collecting underpants thing, which is from a previous chat. Definitely can be a weakness for many of us. If we don't take action with the stuff, it doesn't really do anything, does it? So that is why I've been working on this thing called the Teacher Tracker. If you're a member, you will have just got an email about this. If you're not a member, I still want you to keep watching, because I actually think you can just take this and apply it to your own life. You can do it with a notebook. All I'm doing is setting up a system that holds you accountable to it. But really, at its core, what this is picking one area to work on at a time, and I'll show you what I mean by area in a second. And within that area, picking 5 things that are going to help you improve in that area. And just doing that. And then at the end saying, how do I feel? Do I feel more confident with that? Do some of the ideas work? Do I need more time to digest it? And then picking a new area or the same area again and picking 5 more things to do. It's really that simple. But we've created a system to help you do it. So this is something I started thinking about at a conference I was at in September in 2019. What a different time that was. That's why that smile came on my face. Just like, I was in Newcastle, I was at a conference, everyone was sitting beside each other and sharing things. What a different time. Anyway, I was at this conference last September and it was awesome. It was a fantastic conference. It was not a teaching conference, it was for membership site owners from one of my favorite duos, I guess, to follow on that. Their business is called the Membership Guys. Anyway, so they put on this conference and I was there, and one thing that one person said in a speech sparked this idea. The speech wasn't actually anything about this, but that shows you the power of attending live conferences and stuff. It just sparks information. It also shows you the power of getting out of your own space, which is something we can't do right now, but I'm sort of thinking about how can I distance myself from my home office and all of that stuff so that I can still get that feeling that I get from traveling. That's a tangent, but I do think that it helps you be more productive if you step outside of things, because you can prioritize it effectively. Side note from the tangent, did you know that priority used to only have a singular? I'm pretty sure that's true. It was a one, it literally meant one thing. And then we made it plural because we can't. Humans, that is. English speaking humans at some point decided, well, I want to have multiple priorities. But it's not. It was supposed to be one. Anyway, so I started having this idea last September. Then it solidified for me again traveling in Australia in January. And I made this doodle, which my husband said looked like DNA. He called it my DNA mad scientist plan. It looks nothing like that now. Let me show you what it actually looks like these days. just pull it up on screen here, closing all our wonderful games. Here we go. So, this is what it will look like at certain stages. So this is what it looks like when I've already finished a learning lineup. This tracker here is created by you taking a quiz. So basically the process is you take a quiz about how confident you feel about different areas and aspects of your teaching and your business. And then at the end of the quiz, it gives you a result. Okay, so I've already taken the quiz, and that's why on the membership page, a bit slow loading because we're on the call here. On the membership page, this is your home page when you're logged in as a member, you'll see your tracker, and there are all these different areas. This is all the things that I think teachers are trying to balance learning about and improving. And it's no wonder we feel overwhelmed. Like, look at that list. Oral, business, planning, reading, creativity, fun, rhythm, technique, work-life balance. Now that's not extensive, but I believe it covers a lot of the different hats that we try and wear. And the quiz will give you a result on how confident you felt about each of these areas. And then you can choose one of them to create a learning lineup. So I'm going to choose oral here, and we'll do a quick demo. So a learning lineup is basically a to-do list, but it's a special form of to-do list. So let me show you how it works. So I'm going to replace my learning lineup because I'm finished it. So I can drag these suggested items, which are from the VMT library and have pre-populated stuff. The S, M, and L are for the size of the task, sort of estimated roughly how long it'll take you. A large one is going to be like a big course. A medium one is going to be a substantial workshop. A small one is going to be a quick video or a quick task. You can also, though, create your own things. And this is something I really wanted to include because you might say read clockwork, whatever. Something you think is going to help you improve in that area. Or could be, we're in the oral section, so maybe that's all you want to say about it because you remember what that means, right? And you can include a link there. Let's say it's a youtube.com/blah, blah, blah. And you add that. So you can create your own tasks, whatever they are. You can include a link or not and set the size of them. Then once you've added items to your list here, you save your lineup. But here's the magic. You can only add up to 5. That's why it's all disappeared. I can't add any more once I get to 5 because 5 is enough. 5 is enough things to do at any one time. You can have enough choice there that when you log in to do your PD, your professional development, you're not left with tasks you don't want to do, that you want to put off. It's enough choice that you can pick something to suit you that day, but it's not so many that it's overwhelming. Just 5 things, and you keep going until all of those are gone. You can set less than 5 as I've done here, which is totally fine. And then when you're finished it, you can choose a new area or the same area again. You can take the full quiz again if you're not sure if it accurately represents where you are anymore. And you repeat the process. Okay? So that's basically how it works. I told you it was simple. I told you you could do it on a piece of paper. But it is more convenient to have the links up there. And to have that restriction to 5. Because honestly, if we didn't limit it and I just said I recommend 5, everyone would set like 20. So I know I'm being a bit controlling about that, but it's because I really think it will make a difference. And you can, get through those 5 in a day and feel awesome about yourself and set another 5 if that's what you want to do, right? But it's about actually setting priorities, yes, plural, but just 5 priorities and that's it. Okay? Yeah, Laurie, exactly. You can add links from different sites. So I don't want to say to you, okay, this is just for VMT stuff, because that's going to be just as overwhelming as before. If I set this system up and say, oh, this is how you organize your VMT resources, well, great, it would still be a useful system, but you would still have to go to 20 different blog sites and podcasts and whatever. Whereas with this system, I'm hoping you will all use it as your central hub for everything. You just log in and say, what did I want to do? Okay, I'm going to do it. And you can still keep your separate list, which is, I would like to look at these things someday, right? And you can save them in your browser, or you can have a different system like Carrie had earlier to save those things, to save the links. That's great. But those are your some days. I mean, I do this inside my notebook, right? So the first page here says, because it's the start of summer, right? It says possible summer projects. And that's just possibilities. I'm acknowledging to myself, I don't know which ones of those I'm going to do or if I'm going to get time for any of them, but it lets me get out of my brain like, this is all the stuff I could make. This is all the stuff I could create or learn about or invest in or whatever. And then I have other sheets which just say July priorities. And those are the things that I actually have to do in July. I have no choice, they have to get done. And if you stick to that, it really helps. So that's a paper system. This is a digital system that's going to help you with any training that you want. Whether it's a podcast from someone else, whether it's a video I posted here on YouTube that's not on the site because it was a live video. Whatever it is, you collate them 5 things at a time. I'm going to actually watch or listen to these things or do these things. You set up your own links for them, or you choose our suggested ones if you're not sure what you should do, and you improve upon that. And then at the end of that list, you feel like you actually got better at oral. Okay? And then you pick a new area that you also don't feel super confident with. But it's not just about limiting the 5 things and picking one area at a time. The other reason I wanted to have that visualization is it's about balance. I've been thinking for a while about somehow bringing in a flamingo as our VMT mascot. Let me know what you guys think of that idea. I think a flamingo is a perfect music teaching mascot. I know, Steve. Poor Steve. Steve is still our studio mascot. But a flamingo is a great symbol for us because it's about balance. And flamboyance. And it's Carl. But also it's about balance. And when I say balance, I actually mean balance. Sometimes when people say balance, what they mean is just do all the things. I want to find balance between my work and my life. But they mean I want to be an amazing mom, and I want to be the best pet owner in the world, and I want to run a marathon, and I want to make $1 million, right? We say balance, what we mean, I just want to be the best at all of the things. But finding balance is actually about a balancing act. That's why my first doodles of this looked, my husband said, like DNA. I think it looked like a crazy broken bike wheel, but we won't debate that. It looked like that because I was balancing all these different dots. Okay, what are all the things we have to balance? And it's about bringing them back into alignment with each other. All the time, constantly tweaking. And we need to feel okay about that. And I think when you see it laid out as a list like that, you can feel okay about it because you'll do that quiz and you'll find that a lot of those areas you actually feel pretty good about, but you were feeling useless. So you can look at that and say, actually, to be honest, there's only 2 areas that I feel that I'm not good enough at. It's, my business acumen and my technique teaching. And when you narrow it down like that and look at it, you can say, oh, that's not such a big deal. I'm already great at all these other things. I just have to improve that one area. Think about it like a report card you would give a student, right? You would never tell them that they're crap at everything. That's not what you would say. You would tell them all the things they were great at and 1 or 2 things to improve. And you need to see for yourself that the same is true for you. So that's what I'm hoping you'll take from this. Not just a great to-do list system, not just a way to focus and organize your thoughts, although I hope it will do that for you too, but a way to look at it and say, you know what, I'm pretty great. I'm already pretty good at so many things. That's what I want you to say. Okay? The last thing I want to talk to you about with productivity is also from Mike Michalowicz's book, Clockwork. He tells this story of going to meet for coffee with a guy who's a productivity coach, okay? Such a thing exists. He goes to meet with this guy who's the productivity whiz, whatever he calls himself. And he sits down with him and they have a few pleasantries. And then the coach man says, Mike, productivity is BS. He used the real word. Productivity is BS, right? And the reason he said that as a productivity coach is because he's been seeing with his clients over and over again, he helps them be more productive, and then they just take on more work. That's why it's BS. So until you find that balance, until you see that for yourself and understand your own balance and where that lies for you, productivity is nonsense. It's silly. You don't want to do more stuff. You want to do the right stuff. So although I titled this video Productivity, I actually don't want you to think about productivity at all. I want you to think about balance and priorities for sure. I want you to feel like a competent teacher, but I don't want you to necessarily feel super productive, because that can just be you being a little hamster, you know? That doesn't achieve anything. So that's my parting words of wisdom for you. We will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. I hope you enjoyed this chat today. Because it is once a week, I got to extend it a little bit so we get to spend more time together, which is awesome. Before you go away, please do hit the like button on the video. I super appreciate it, and it helps spread the word to other teachers like you who also need help with all this stuff. And yeah, could benefit from these chats and connecting with our community, right? The more people in our community, the stronger it gets and the more we all benefit. So hit the like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get the next one of these notifications when we go live next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Dublin time, 10 a.m. in New York, 10 p.m. over in Perth in Australia. I'll see you all then. Bye for now.